Well, hello again. I've taken the old schematic and I made pink colored dots all over this thing, and they're just everywhere. And I've also made blue ones. Now, why did I do that? Well, everything in pink that I've made dots on all has to be connected together. It's amazing, isn't it? All of the pink you see here are the same electrical point. Junctions. They all have to be connected together in order for us to complete this radio rewire job. Same thing with the blue. Everything in blue has to be connected together. So what that means is we're going to have at least 2 more terminal strips to install, because I don't want to have a million wires running everywhere in this schematic like it was before. This is what I'm talking about. Now here's what the chassis looked like originally, when it still had all the cobwebs and all that jazz in it. And you can see there are wires running everywhere, just everywhere. Anyway, the next time you see this chassis, we'll go ahead and have the audio output transformer connected into it, which would be this hole right here and this hole down here. And then we'll go ahead and connect up this ground wire to there, and we'll connect up the wires from the primary and the secondary of the audio output transformer right here. We'll get those hooked up. Now down here, this field coil business, that, my friends, will not be we will not be using that. That will all go. So I mean, we'll still have to use the there'll still have to be a completed circuit through there, but this field coil will not be there. We'll cover that later on. And then we have to figure out where on earth we're going to put those terminal strips, because right now I don't have a clue. And you know, it's interesting, when we get all done, we're probably still going to have a mass of wires running here, there, and everywhere. The design layout of this chassis was early on in the radio manufacturing business. It wasn't that good. It was like, do it here, do it there, and then of course the persons who had it before me probably changed a few around themselves. Matter of fact, I know they did, and there's probably still more I haven't even looked at that, like for instance right here, that one right there, I think that one right there, just, I don't know. It looks like to me like it was messed with a lot at one point. I don't know. Could be dead wrong on that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and do our best. So let me get the audio output transformer painted up halfway, looking halfway decent. We'll get it in the chassis and I'll be back. By the way, I've been watching the view count on each part of this series. I'm happy to report that it's not been going down, any significant amount. It's still running 5, 6, 7, 800 views, which is good, because now some of it may be the same guys watching it over and over and over. I don't know. But, I'm glad that folks are still hanging in there and still following this through. Now, keep in mind, this, one more time, I want to emphasize this. This is for you. This is not for me. I know how to do this, okay? This is for you. Some people might say, oh, well, this is kind of boring what he's doing here. Wait a minute, This is for you, not for me. It's important to understand that. This is your schooling. And when I'm done, I hope every one of you can take a schematic similar to this and just sit down and go through it just like a hot knife through butter. You can do that. Well, now the real fun begins. Installing the audio output transformer. We have and remember, now this is simple stuff. Don't let this stuff blow your mind. We have a primary and we have a secondary. That's all there is to it. The primary leads come over and hook to pin 2. The other lead hooks over here to pin 4 of the audio output tube, the number 47. Pin 2 and pin 4. That's the primary. So let's take a look at that. As you can see, I've already got it installed. Let me get a little focus here. There we go. And I have already hooked up the ground wire that I told you I was going to pick up my ground right there. And that's for the filament winding. And I used a couple of outside star washers between the chassis and the audio output transformer, and also underneath the ground to the audio output transformer. So I've already ohmed it out. We got some really good continuity between ground and this. These are the two wires that need to go to pin 2 and pin 4 of the audio output tube. These two. And pin 2 and pin 4 would be, let me zoom in here, pin 1, pin 2, there it is right there. I've got the wire, come on baby, focus in, there we go. I got the wire in that one hole there. That would be pin 1 and pin 2. Okay, it's starting to get a little hard to see these pins now with all these wires hanging around. So I just got it stuck in there right now, just kind of jammed in there. And we go to pin number 3 and pin number 4. Now this is pin number 4 right here. And again, I've just got the wire kind of poked in the hole right there. I'm going to be soldering those up in a minute. So let's get that done. I went ahead and, before we start doing that, I went ahead and put some red heat shrink on there and shrunk it down. And I'm going to take some of this liquid tape. Once we get it soldered in, once we get it soldered into the tube, pin 2 and pin 4, that'll be the primary. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this liquid tape, and I'm going, let me back up here a little bit. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to put these two together like this. I'm going to tape them in place, and then I'm going to put the liquid tape on there to hold those wires. These are very delicate wires. You can see how flimsy they are. They're just kind of, I'm really worried about them breaking. Now I did the same thing up here for the choke. Now I pulled it over to the side, held it in place with some tape, then went ahead and put the liquid tape in, let it dry, and now I don't have to worry about these wires wiggling back and forth and breaking off. Now I can move the entire chassis with those wires, see that? And they don't even move. I really like this liquid tape. Now it's not the neatest kind of stuff to deal with, but you know, when it comes to preserving the choke, a little bit of this, nobody's going to see it under there anyway. It really does make it easier to keep it in place and not break off on you. So we're not only going to do it to this side. Once we get the other side in, which will be these two black wires, and we'll go over that in a few minutes. Once we get these soldered up, we're also going to put some of that liquid tape down there too. I want to be able to hold those wires in place. I don't want them breaking off. Okay, let me go ahead and get this soldered. I now have the ends all cut and bent and ready to go. Getting ready to solder it up. I've got the solder extracted from pin 2 and pin 4. And what do we have to do? Well, I'll tell you what we have to do. Before we solder this up, we have to double check. So we're going to hook our multimeter up just to make sure this continuity is still good. Now remember, this is the primary side, the side facing the, this is the primary side, the side facing the 47 tube right here, pin 2 and pin 4. All I'm doing is hooking my multimeter up here and here on those on the primary right here through up here and down and around. That's all I'm doing. I'm going to measure it to make sure it's still good. So I've got them hooked up. And here's our multimeter. Get this old light out of the way. Alright, now the primary is going to be a lot higher than the secondary, trust me. Alright, we are on the 2000 ohm scale and we're reading around 609, 610 ohms. Pretty good deal. Alright, let's check the other two. Let's check the secondary, the side that faces the speaker. And again, I've gone ahead and put some heat shrink on the end there and got it to where I got, I spliced a couple of pieces on because it was a little bit short on one lead where I had clipped it out originally. So I put it back with another piece and shrunk it up with heat shrink, and then I went ahead and put another piece of heat shrink on the second one, give it added strength right here because it's going to be laying against the chassis. And once we get it installed, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and hook this up here and the other one up here. Let's see what we get here. Well, we got nothing. Let's go to the smaller scale. Remember, I told you the primary is going to be large and the secondary that faces the speaker is going to be small. There you go. Not quite an ohm, okay? Not quite an ohm. The two wires are soldered up. They look really good. So I've got the chassis on end right now. I'm going to take the old liquid tape. I'm going to start applying it over here to those two wires. I've got them kind of taped up in one spot. I want those things to be held in one spot without moving. I don't want any problems with this thing in the future. And it really doesn't matter, because if the audio output transformer craps out, or the choke craps out, the only thing you can really do is replace them, put a new one in or something like that. Alright, I think that's going to go ahead and hold that right where I want it. Just kind of do as neat a job as you can. I think that might do it. I may have to apply a little bit more toward the back, but that'll be about it. We'll just let it dry. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and knock it off. It's Friday night, and I'm kind of tired. You know, I've been at it all week doing all kinds of stuff, working on the garden and everything. So I don't know how long this video is going to be. So however long it is, okay? It is what it is, as they say. Next time we'll pick up with these two wires right here going. This will be the secondary going out to the speaker plug, which is right here. We're going to hook one up here, and we're going to hook one up here. But I need to talk to you about that first. You know, we need to look at the schematic. Well, let me get the schematic and show you what I'm talking about. We just hooked up 2 and 4 to the primary. Now the secondary runs down and hooks into the voice coil. And I've got these things marked. Now there's 4 holes in the speaker plug. What you're looking at here is the speaker plug. 2 here, 2 holes here, and 2 holes here. These 2 are for the field coil. And these 2 holes in the socket, the speaker plug rather, are for the voice coil. And one of them is grounded to the frame with a black wire. The question is, how do you figure out which of those 4 holes in the speaker plug go to the voice coil and which 2 go to the field coil? Now, even though we're not going to have a field coil in our radio when we're done, we still have to have something there to complete the circuit, which will be a high wattage 10 watt resistor. And we still have to hook it up, just like you see it here. Field coil, resistor makes no difference. You got to complete the circuit. You can't just take it out and leave it hanging, okay? Because the rest of this stuff is dependent upon that, all right? So, filtration, things like that. Anyway, next time we'll discuss how I figured out, or I think I figured out, which one of these is pin 2 and 3 and which one is 1 and 4. Because it does not show it on the schematic. Isn't that sweet? It doesn't even tell me what ohm speaker this thing takes. So I'm going to be putting an 8 ohm speaker in it. What is wrong with this camera tonight? Let me put some light on here. Maybe that'll help. That's a little better. Yeah, it doesn't even tell me on the schematic or anywhere in the documentation what size the speaker is. So I'm going to be putting an 8 ohm in it, and that's what we're going to do. So this was easy peasy stuff here today, okay? Just hooking up these 2 wires for the primary over to 47. And next time we'll pick up with this. And then we'll go over, you'll probably fall asleep by the time I get done telling you about all this stuff here. And when I'm all done, guess what? I'm not even going to be 1,000% sure that what I did is correct. But I think, even if it's not correct, I'll show you how to overcome that, okay? Until next time, this is John. By the way, everybody have a good weekend.